welcome back to Well, That's Interesting. The I know those words, but none of that made sense edition. Today is episode 207, Bear Cub High on Mad Honey, rescued in Turkey, and cocaine sharks found off the coast of Brazil. My friends, when I sat down to write the notes to today's show, I asked myself, where do I even begin? So let's start off with a recap. Because if you're a longtime listener of WTI, then you know this actually isn't the first time we've talked about animals on an accidental bender. This will be the third time, I think. Way the fuck back, and in between 044, we learned a not-so-fun fact, that concentrations of meth, or methamphetamines, can be found in rivers all over the world. Now, if you haven't had a listen and you're wondering how this is possible, the U.S. Geological Survey website provided us with a matter-of-fact answer. Quote, pharmaceuticals get into the water supply via human excretion and by drugs being flushed down the toilet. You might think wastewater treatment plants would take care of the situation, but pharmaceuticals pass right through water treatment. End quote. Now, if that sounds wild to you, then you should hear about the study we covered on the same day, the one performed by Pavel Horky, an associate professor and behavioral ecologist at the Czech University of Life Sciences, Prague. He and a team placed 60 trout in a drug-free holding tank and another 60 in a tank laced with 1 microgram of meth per liter of water for 2 months. Now, this was all to record any behavioral and biological changes in the meth-exposed trout, and I will give you one guess as to what happened. Yeah, you're right. When the 2 months ended, when the trout from the party tank were released, there was a stark change in behavior of the fish. They barely moved. They were sluggish and were nowhere near as active as their non-drugged out counterparts. Essentially, they were going through shock and withdrawal. And it gets better. When those same fish had the option to swim through regular water or water laced with meth, they chose the meth, which researchers concluded were signs of addiction. Yeah, take a moment for that to sink in, and now I'll tell you about episode 122, what's with all these aquatic creatures testing positive for cocaine? Yeah, that was the title. And that was the title because we covered another study that took water and animal samples from 15 different sites across the rural county of Suffolk, a place miles from London in the east of England. In this Jane Austen fucking postcard, researchers found traces of at least 67 different contaminant compounds, including notable levels of ketamine, Valium, Xanax, and Tramadol, which is an opioid for pain relief. Best of all, when they tested randomly caught shrimp in these rivers, 100% of them tested positive for cocaine. Every single shrimp. And no, I'm not going to tell you where these shrimp are located. You've opened enough restaurants. Now, that was a bad cocaine joke, but the situation is serious, my friends. We will get to it. In the first half of the show, that's a blue jay. I don't know if you heard that. In the first half of the show, that sounds like that blue jay is on it. In the first half of the show, we're going to start off a little more lighthearted. In fact, us humans turn out to be the heroes. I'm going to tell the tale of a real-life bear cub who ate too much of what's called Deli Bal, which translates from Turkish to mad honey. She was found on the side of the road, blissed out, immobile, and seeing through time, which prompted locals to literally place her in the back of a pickup truck and drive her to an emergency vet. But don't worry, she survives and is released. We will tell her tale, and we will get into this honey. We will talk about the flowers whose nectar, when passed through bees, becomes an hallucinogen. I'm doing great, too. We will talk about the people who harvest it, And we will talk about how this little bear is not the first to need rescuing. Oh no, my friends, this honey goes back centuries and has been used as a weapon in war. Then after the break, we're leaving Turkey for Brazil and leaving land for the sea. Thanks to our growing use of cocaine, the inadequacies of sewage treatment and runoff from cocaine production, and even reports of packs of coke left drifting out in the open water from failed drug runs, that's a thing. Researchers are concerned more than ever about the stuff ending up in wildlife. Well, after a 2-year study, including over a dozen randomly sampled sharks off the coast of Rio, well, it confirmed, we've got cocaine sharks. We will be diving into this study, including what kind of sharks tested positive, and at what incredible rates, and what it could mean for them. And us, goddamn. Now, if you're currently distracted pitching a B movie about mutant murderous sharks that may or may not be on cocaine to a Hollywood type, I am so sorry, but there's already a movie out there about that. Yeah, it's called Cocaine Shark. And it came out in 2023. Of course there is. Hi, I'm Jill Chacha, and if this is your first time listening, well, hello, welcome to the flock, my highly alert business goose. To begin, I'm going to need you to clear your schedule, quit your job, and pack your bags, because I've just booked us a first-class ticket to the Düzce province of northern Turkey. And for my fellow geographically challenged Americans who are stoked for the free vacation but are like, where is this exactly? Don't worry, I've got you. Please imagine Italy. Wonderful. Now point to the heel of that sexy thigh-high boot and move your finger down, just a smidge, and to the right. Perfect. There is Greece. Now one more time, move your finger down and to the right, and we're going to hop over every English literature major's favorite sea, the Aegean Sea, and we're going to find ourselves in Turkey, which is shaped similar to a rectangle. And if you point to the top left corner of that rectangle, that's Istanbul, and its neighbor to the right is Düzce. And just like all of northern Turkey, its coastline hugs the Black Sea, which means a number of things. One, its accessibility. Its easy accessibility means grabby, power-hungry, teeny men have been fighting over and establishing territories here since the 3rd century BC. It went by many names and exchanged hands many times, so very long story short, it was conquered by Pontus and then by the Roman Empire. After the separation of the Roman Empire in 395, it was controlled by the Byzantine Empire, which had it until the 14th century when the Ottomans were like, yoink. Now, please put a pin in all of this bloodthirstiness. We will get back to it. But for now, today, Düzce is home to around 200,000 people and is pretty modern and shiny. And if you give it a Google, you'll see 2 Ferris wheels pop up. Now, I don't know why. For the centuries of fighting and death were not over those Ferris wheels. It was over its geographical location, which makes it an agricultural powerhouse. Outside the city, you'll find, quote, a vast forestry area, plateaus, waterfalls, a long seashore, beaches, natural caves, rafting, sailing, water sports, fishing, and 150 kinds of birds, end quote, from allaboutturkey.com. In sum, parts of Düzce are still very wild, and birds are just the start. Sure, there's vultures and eagles, but there's lynx, squirrels, foxes, jackals, deer, and of course, bears. Back in another shithole of a year, 2022, there was one particular bear, however, that was the hero we all needed. My friends, please drop whatever it is you're holding because it's nowhere near as cute as the photos of the small brown bear cub that I've got over at our social media stuffs. So please pick up your phone and tap on today's post. The first image you're going to see is a little cub face planting into some grass with its butt sticking into the air. And if that looks adorable and also like a position you don't usually find a bear cub in, you are so right. And it's going to get even better. Swipe past this photo and you'll see the same bear cub, I swear to God, now just sitting up, literally sitting up with its butt, like just sitting up in the back of a pickup truck. And it looks like a person in a bear suit, but it is not a person in a bear suit. That is a cub. That is a bear cub whose edibles just hit. Let's get into it. My friends, it is my honor to introduce you to a little female cub who has been dubbed Balkız. And that's thanks to an online poll. And the name translates to honey girl or honey daughter from Turkish. In August of 2022, Balkız was found tweaking by the side of a road in rural Düzce, her eyes infinitely wide, her movements clumsy and staggering as though attempting to navigate all timelines at once. Locals knew immediately what was happening here. Balkız got her baby paws into what's known as Deli Bal, or mad honey, a delicacy that's as potent as it is rare. A mere teaspoon is enough to induce a mildly hallucinogenic or euphoric state. But our baby girl, judging by her jitters, her huffing and her puffing, and obvious discomfort, she consumed enough to find herself in the flatbed of an unmarked vehicle surrounded by beings speaking a language she couldn't understand. And we've all been there. If you haven't, I'll put this trip into perspective. I'm going to play a 40-second clip as provided by The Guardian, and it's cell phone footage from one of the locals who rescued Balkız. What you're going to hear is a few groans from our spaced-out bear cub, who, by the way, is sitting up or trying to sit up on her little butt, perhaps in an attempt to get away from the time knife. You'll hear the locals amused, coordinating, trying to get her to safety. If you'd like to watch along, and I know you do, I'll have screenshots over at our social media stuffs, so you could watch along. Highly recommend. You could also search Bear Cub Mad Honey, and a blitzed out Balkız will pop right up. It'll probably be like the first or second link. In the meantime, here we go. Balkız.
Canlı ya. Nasıl? Yapacağız bakalım. Ne haber? Merhaba. Ay biliyorsun o hey. Erkek mi? Bunu da erkek mi? Abi dokunma. Ya bu nereye gidiyor bu?
Okay, that was chaos. That was chaos. But I'm truly happy to report Balkız was scooped up by Turkey's Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry, given a precious checkup at a veterinarian's where she was examined snout to tail. She was found to be perfectly healthy and given a safe space to wind down from her intergalactic jaunt across the universe. About 24 hours later, Balkız returned to Earth and returned to her bear cub form once more, and it was time for her release. On August 12th, the Minister of Agriculture and Forestry, Professor and Dr. Vahit Kariski, was joined by an excited crew with smartphones in hand, doing what most humans do best, witnessing an extraordinary scene through a screen, and of course recording it. There stood Dr. V, deep within the forests near the Balkans, a region whose name aptly translates to, quote, the land of honey and blood. There he stood, beside a metal cage and tweeted to the world, quote, "Godspeed to the beautiful girl who has won the hearts of us all. May she eat everything in moderation, even honey." End quote. With that, Dr. V pulled back the cage's door to release a bouncy baby bear cub into the wild. And yes, there are photos of it over at our social media stuffs for you to enjoy. So, did Balkis learn to say no to drugs? Well, it's been 2 years now, and the word on the street is that she's clean and hasn't been seen roadside ever since. But I can see the expression on your face. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, wait, you gotta tell me more about this honey. First of all, how in the fuck can honey get you high? And two, shut up and take my money. Well, my interested business goose, these are all great thoughts. Let's start with the how. Turns out, northern Turkey is the only place in the world, other than the foothills of the Himalayas, where a specific indigenous species of rhododendron grows. And it's a beauty of a plant. It's called forest rose. Now, although rhododendron means red tree, when forest rose flowers in May through June, its petals are more on the purple side, and you can have a peek over at today's post to have a look. I'll give you a sec. The color is enticing. Damn, and maybe that's why. Over the millennia, forest rose evolved a defensive natural neurotoxin called granotoxin. And if you're wondering how it gets from a flower to your brain bits and what in the holy hell it can do to you, I'm so glad you asked. My friends, please join me over at TurkishMadHoney.com. You want to get that right. TurkishMadHoney.com, where yes, you can legally buy Deli Bal. But you might want to take a moment and listen to what these purveyors of sweet madness have to say first. And just to make this even more amusing, every time I say the word die, or reference death, or reference getting hurt, please take a shot of something that isn't this honey. You ready? Okay. Under the site's menu option called "Does Mad Honey Get You High?" Quote, yes, absolutely, you are reading that right. There is a halogenic honey and other names such as bitter honey, mad honey, rhododendron honey that you can eat only 1 teaspoon of. Otherwise, you might be seriously poisoned or even die. Honey is a miracle. It has various benefits for human health and has been eaten and used for many long years. But this honey is different. Deli Bal is a type of honey that is actually a poison. Deli Bal has a neurotoxin that can cause hallucinations and get you stoned, even in small amounts. If you eat this mad honey more than is recommended by the locals, you could seriously overdose, be poisoned, or even die. Locals use mad honey to cure diabetes, hypertension, treat aches and pains caused by arthritis, and improve sexual performance. Locals boil it up in milk and drink it in really teeny-weeny amounts before breakfast. But we say again, if you eat this mad honey more than recommended, you get mad honey poisoning, which could cause extreme hallucinations, seizures, numbness, blurred vision, low blood pressure, fainting, nausea, irregular heartbeat, and death. End quote. That's on this website, and they sell this shit. Nothing like a side of death with your toast in the morning. That is hardcore. And I think this site mentioned like dying 30 times. So I hope you're okay and that you chose something a little more laid back. Anyway, now our baby bear clearly didn't order this honey off the internets. She shoved her sticky face into the hive of some local honeybees who fed on enough rhododendron nectar to produce the infamous bitter, deep auburn honey you now know and love. As for the locals, who use mad honey from who use mad honey for everything from minor ailments to getting their freak on. That's when beekeepers of the Kakar Mountains in the country's northeast corner come in handy. Beekeepers like Hassan Katlauta, who was 48 at the time of this interview with Bethan McKernan of The Guardian. Hassan grew up on the humid mountainous slopes around the Black Sea, inheriting his father's know-how when it comes to harvesting Deli Bal. Part of his process is crafting traditional beehives out of lindenwood and tying them to the tippity-fucking top of the tallest trees in the region. When the time is right, he climbs those trees in a balancing act that juggles heights, disturbed bees, and the surrounding wildlife. Now, if this sounds a tad dangerous, it is. For Hassan, though, only one of these was life-threatening. Quote, Katlauta has shimmied up and down these trees more than he could possibly count in 30 years, and is proud to say he has never fallen. He was, however, attacked by a bear. Of course. I survived by shoving my arm down its throat, cutting off its oxygen, while shouting for help, he said, showing the red scars that still mark his hands and left leg. End quote. From The Guardian. I just want to ask, what is going on in Turkey? What is going on in Turkey? There's so much going on. That's a hard act to follow, surviving a bear attack after harvesting hallucinatory honey, but that's usually a hard act to follow. But on this show, that's just a day job. My friends, it's time to unpin that pin from earlier in the segment, the one about this area we now call Düzce having been fought over and over and over for literally centuries. Well, knowing what you know about mad honey's side effects like nausea, fainting, seizures, arrhythmia, death, and the like, well, it should come as no surprise that Deli Bal is one of the oldest tactics in chemical warfare. Yes, my delicious business goose, at one point, honey changed the course of history. Thanks to the research of the late great Texas A&M anthropology professor and honey connoisseur Von Bryant, the following historical records exist to this day. Once upon a time, 67 BCE to be exact, the Roman Empire general Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, aka Pompey the Great, was on a torrential murdering spree, killing and claiming any and all in his path. The cash cow, if you will, though, was the land occupied by King Pontus and his Persian army along the Black Sea, aka where we are right now, Düzce. Now, killing and traveling are two very tiring and time-consuming things on their own, let alone when you combine the two. So Pontus had a eureka moment. For the hungry soldiers marching towards his kingdom, quote, the Persians gathered pots full of local honey and left them for the Roman troops to find. They ate the honey, became disoriented, and couldn't fight. The Persian army returned and killed over 1,000 Roman troops with few losses of their own. Bryant told liberalarts.tamu.edu. Yeah, 1,000 laced people getting smoked is a horrendous massacre. It was so horrendous that its story has survived to this day. And now you know it too, so please tell everyone. And then you can follow that up with this doozy. The Turkish bees, which make mad honey, they are completely immune to the forest rose neurotoxin. Yeah, somehow, in all this death and insanity, these bees and this delicate flowering plant coexist and depend on one another for survival, and they do it in harmony. Shit is wild. After the break, we are moving on from bees and bears to sharks. And this time around, the drugs are supplied by yours truly. Oh, not me exactly. I mean the collective yours truly, like us humans. You know what I mean? Okay, anyway, fish out your thong. Fish out your thong, we are heading to Rio. Next.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie Wolves is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie Wolves,
You can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it, so do it.
definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it, it's cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
We are back. We are so damn back. And my friends, I'd like to take a moment to highlight some not so great fun facts about cocaine, as provided by the study we're about to nosedive into. A study simply called Cocaine Shark. First report on cocaine and benzoylecgonine detection in sharks. Boy howdy, it is a first. But first, let's start with that there benzoylecgonine, because I'm sure we're all familiar with cocaine, but not so much benzoylecgonine. Ooh, anyway, that fancy pants word is actually the substance your body produces when it breaks down cocaine. Basically, it's an end product after metabolizing the stuff. So, if it's detected in your muscles, blood work, or liver, there's a good chance that at one point, cocaine, or COC as it's abbreviated by researchers, that it was ingested. Put a pin in this. Being an end product, it should come as no surprise that it can end up in sewage treatment runoff. According to the study, sewage analysis spanning over 60 million individuals from 37 countries between 2011 and 2017 have consistently revealed the presence of COC and benzoylecgonine in aquatic environments. And with 22%, or 4.8 million, of the estimated 22 million COC users worldwide residing in South America as of 2021, and with Brazil emerging as the second largest consumer market in this area, Brazil's Ministry of Health was like, we should probably look into the effects of both of these things. And thus, a team of biologists from the Oswaldo Cruz Foundation, an organization affiliated with Brazil's Ministry of Health, well, they took up the challenge. This team, including Rachel Ann Hauser Davis, well, they had the courage to ask, dude, what's up with sharks? No reports regarding the impact of COC on fish species such as sharks and rays are available, and they are key indicators of an ecosystem's health. So, I think we should test sharks for cocaine. Yeah. Yes, my land-dwelling business goose, Rachel and her biologist buddies totally agreed. We should test sharks for cocaine. And I could see your face. I could see your expression from here. You're thinking, oh, how? How in the holy hell do you do that? Well, unfortunately, thanks to another goddamn issues sharks are burdened with, that being accidental net capture by fisheries, the team was able to purchase and secure 13 deceased Brazilian sharp-nosed sharks from September 2021 through August of 2023. And if you're curious as to what these little babies look like and why they were chosen, well, the name says it all. Imagine a silver shark whose face comes to a point. And if you shrink the whole thing down to a mere 2 feet in length, they are actually adorable. And just as with a lot of people, especially the residents of Brazil, they love the beach. They spend their entire lives along the coastline. As such, it was believed if any animal is being exposed to COC, it's the Brazilian sharp-nosed shark. So, before Rachel and the team were these 13 animals comprising of 3 males and 10 females, 5 of which were actually pregnant, and all 3 males were juveniles. Yeah, that hurts. That's a bit of a downer. And to be honest, the results of the team's tests, they weren't much of a bump. No pun intended. So, what did the team find after chemically Sorry, I know that was terrible. So, what did the team find after chemically analyzing these sharks' muscles and liver samples? Drumroll, please. Thank you in the back. Quote, every single sample from the sharks tested positive for cocaine, with 92% of muscle samples and 23% of liver samples also testing positive for one of the drug's main metabolites, benzoylecgonine. This marks the first evidence of cocaine being identified in free-ranging sharks. End quote from Holly Large of IFLscience.com. Ouch. Yes, every random captured shark over a 2-year period tested positive for cocaine and metabolized it at some point. But don't worry though. Don't worry. It gets better. And by that I mean worse. The levels of cocaine found in these sharks were reported to be as much as 100 times higher than in any previously observed marine life. 100 times higher. And we've covered a lot of animals on cocaine on this show, including shrimp and eels. Yes, eels. Check it out. Episode 112. What's with all these aquatic creatures testing positive for cocaine? If you haven't. Now, if you are amused and you're amazed by these results, you're not alone. Even Rachel was like, what the fuck? Quote, we were actually dumbfounded. She told Sarah Hertz of the New York Times. Now, as to how the drug itself is affecting these creatures, well, this study didn't go into such an analysis like the previous studies on shrimp and eels, which found that COC caused alterations to important proteins, changes to skin, and a disruption to hormone function. The team suggests that further studies are needed to be done to determine that. So, if anyone out there would like to fuck around and find out as to what happens when sharks are on cocaine, Godspeed, and please tell me what happens. Just let me know. I'm here. I'll report on it. I'll tell everybody else. What happens? Watch this space. And thank you for listening, rating, subscribing, telling your friends about Balkis, the little baby brown cub who got so high with an edible that she had to be taken to an emergency vet and then released. It's God, so cute. And then to tell them that same honey killed thousands of people. Tell them about cocaine sharks. They probably already know, but they probably don't know the amount of details. It's fucking something. And a kilo-sized thanks to the folks over at Airwave Media, the podcast network to which WTI belongs. If you love this show, and you do, you'll love the other podcasts in this family. So please, stay interesting.